There was no support system at all in Wilson County or Lebanon for people that homeless.
At one camp we found diapers, which meant that a baby had stayed there recently.
James Fulmer, a homeless man in Nashville, froze to death on the steps of a church of all places. That kind of lit a fire under us, and we said, we can't have something like this happen on our watch in Wilson County. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
We said we have to do something. We've got to get ready. And so we decided to open shelters. We had 7 churches who had agreed to host men in their buildings. And we had one congregation, Crossdale, said they could keep the ladies. Crossdale said they could host the dinner. And so we launched out. That first winter, we provided 444 beds. We didn't really know who was in charge. It was just a group of churches all opening our buildings, and so we had to get organized. The second, third, fourth winters, the ministry grew each winter. The second winter, we added 7 more churches so that we could have 7 men's churches, 7 women's churches. By the third winter, we had 14 men's churches, 7 women's churches, and that was our program for several years. The ministry really changed significantly in the fall of 2019. We realized that we had outgrown Crossdale as our dinner site. It was just too big. We were having too many guests. They had too many people in their program.
We needed a place that was just ours for our guests. And we started looking and asking around, and Lebanon First United Methodist Church has a historic house called the Spain House. And they were thrilled to allow us to use it for meals. It had a big dining space and was everything that we needed, and it housed our guests during that time for dinner really well. And that was the first year that it felt like it was ours. It was just a really sweet time.
As we were winding down the March 2020 season, a tornado hit Wilson County. Initially we thought we won't get into tornado relief because we're so busy doing homeless outreach. Churches started calling to say, what do we do? Where do we go serve? There was a tornado. Then the Community Foundation called. They had a bunch of money that had come in and they wanted to help the 3 counties that had been hit by the tornado. So we applied for our first significant grant. Community Foundation gave us funding to help tornado survivors. And so for those 6 months, tornado relief was a new and significant way we served. And in 2020, we had to redevelop our entire ministry program because of the pandemic.
As time went on, we realized that we were going to have one large center, one for men, and a separate one for women. Then we started looking for a place that could house our men and our women.
We had searched and searched and searched, and then I decided to just not think about it anymore and go on vacation and let everybody else handle it. And while I was on vacation, I get a call from John saying, we have bought a building.
Finally, September 2020, we found the Hope Center on College Street. It had been a daycare, and turned out the daycare made a perfect homeless shelter because there's lots of doors, lots of rooms, there's a kitchen, there's office space, and it really worked well.
Well, when we found out that we had been awarded the $761,000 CARES Act grant, and of course that was going to be for people affected by COVID to keep them in housing and they would not become homeless. And so that did help us so that we would not have them here in our winter shelters, that we would be able to provide rent and help them with jobs and other necessities that they needed that was affected by either someone in their family had COVID or their employment shut down, daycares. That money was to help with a lot of that.
Our winter season runs from December 1st to March 15th. But after our 7 days a week of having our guests overnight, we don't stop there. We then turn to a summer through fall program where we open our doors during the day to allow our guests to come in and fellowship with each other over some coffee and maybe some pastries. One of the things I love about this last winter that we just walked through is the time of worship we had with our guests. And we were able to dive deeper with our guests in regards to Jesus, and that is the heart of our ministry, Jesus.
I really enjoy getting to know the guest. I think the sweetest thing about Compassionate Hands is that they know that we're here.
to see their eyes awaken to the truth that God loves them, wants them, that is the most incredible thing that ever happens in these doors.
The best thing that can happen to a guest who walks into our shelter is to find a friend, because that ultimately leads to a lot of other good things in their life, especially to find Jesus.
I think one of the best things is that they get the help they need, especially if they're brand new being in our facility, that they come in and we are able to help them with something they need.
In the community of Wilson County, God has done incredible things through Compassionate Hands and mobilizing the church to make this community stronger for our unhoused.
I think something that sets our ministry apart is the tenacity that we have to show the love of Jesus.
And you see how many people have been faithful all these years.
There was just a can-do spirit from day one that we're going to figure out how to do this ministry.
And we wouldn't be there without God. It's always been about where He has led us.
The churches come together and they realize that when we work together, we're better. And when that happens, it's amazing how God can work through us.